You're lying.
All right, 9:00, we'll call the meeting to order. This meeting probably noticed. Roll call. Marge, are you on Zoom? Oh, Marge.
Hello, Bob. Yes, I am.
Okay, thanks. So everybody here? Move to the agenda. So move. Your fees, seconded by Don. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Minutes from September 14. Motion by John.
Yeah.
Second by Rick. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposition? Marge, can you still hear us?
Yes, I can. I said hi. Aye.
Okay. Thank you. All right, correspondence? None. Project status. Kyle, are you present?
Yep, I'm on. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'd noticed it wasn't attached to the agenda before the meeting, so I just had it attached. But it looks like some of the departments through and updated their project status reports. Sheriff looks like updated that they ordered the SUV down below the admin vehicle for $34,000 roughly. Are there any questions for the department heads on the project status report?
Kyle, the UTV, is that a replacement? Is one being traded in, you know? I can get that from.
Yeah, I believe it's going to be a replacement because they
Yeah, it's a replacement for a couple older ATVs.
Okay.
Sold ATVs, yeah.
Chris is here and he answered it. Any questions for Kyle? Marge?
Nope, don't have any. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Kyle.
welcome.
All right. Final draft budgets. Or Kyle, you got this?
Yeah, I can take care of this. Yeah, so if you zoom in on those, right on the right hand side, you'll see the 2023 department proposed budget, and then you'll see the 2023 county manager budget. So that would be what changes we've made after discussing with department heads. So there was, with the district attorney, there was one minor change with just adjusting the DA fees collected. And if you scroll down to the expenses, it really wasn't too much changed. It was mainly above the line stuff, so wages and benefits, and then a little bit of adjustments with some of the expense lines. And you'll see that across all the departmental budgets, there's going to be some minor changes and stuff because we typically try to use like a 5-year average for the expenses. And then we are a little conservative on the revenues, so that way we don't receive less revenues than anticipated.
All right, Supervisor Pease has a question.
Could you scroll back up to the first page? It says state grants for a victim witness. We're gonna lose about $10,000 there, 11,000. Is that what the, because it was 30,000, almost 31,000, and then there was 41,000 with the activity. And we only put in there 30,000 now.
Yep. So that's another one where with the revenues, we're just trying to be a little conservative with how much we anticipate that we're going to get. So for that particular one, it was based on a 5-year average. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's fine. I just wondered how it looked a little bit $11,000 quite a bit in that budget, so.
Any other questions regarding DA? All right, child support.
Pretty much the same general overview on this department's budget. If there's any specific questions, I can answer them.
Questions? Moving on. Clerk of court.
So this budget, it's going to have about the same general overview again as the DA, but we are making some minor changes. And let me see here. All right. So I discussed this at the admin and finance meeting with the budget presentation, and we'll also be discussing it at the county board presentation as well. So the clerk of courts, so you're going to see under state aid on page 2, state aid circuit court support, the expenses, county manager recommended is 0 because we're transitioning that position over into a deputy clerk of courts position. There's still going to be, so that was the community services coordinator position. So that one's going to get transitioned over into deputy clerk of courts. So it's going to be budgeted for there. And that's down in that next expense category right there. Scrolling down to page 3, you're going to see department proposed all zeros right there, activity all zeros, and then you're going to see the county manager proposed. We have dollars in there. That is because we are putting the register and probate budget under clerk of courts budget, just to consolidate those budgets. Same thing with next page. Let's see. It's going to be family court commissioner. Is going to be under the clerk of courts budget as well. Yeah, and then when we ran this budget for the committee, we did run for Department 3, which is register and probate, and Department 4, which is a family court commissioner, just to kind of show where those dollars are transitioning from that department to clerk of courts. So. And any specific questions related to this budget?
No, you answered my questions.
See anything else? Tanya, do you have anything to comment on this?
Hi Kyle, it's Judge Bonnet. I didn't know that we were moving the budgets, I guess, to clerk of courts. Which is fine, but we probably need to have a conversation about how things are gonna work moving forward once we get the new position.
Yeah.
Because technically Judge Wood and I will be the department heads now, since the register and probate and the juvenile clerk are no longer. Or the register and probate specifically is no longer in that role. So I'll give you a call maybe after the meeting and we can just.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thanks. All right, we'll move on to emergency management.
Yeah, pretty much the same overview. There wasn't really too many major changes with emergency management. The one thing that you'll note though is the fund balance applied. Sorry, go back up. $865,000 of fund balance applied. That's because we're going to be transferring that over to the capital project fund for emergency management. So we're doing a one-time infusion to give a little extra cash reserves for the capital project fund for emergency management. So the $865,000 is not what she's regularly in need of every year. It's about $700,000 more than what she typically needs to fund her capital.
You tell the emergency management that they can't spend that. Any questions?
No,
Moving on. Medical examiner.
All right, so is this where I ask how her vehicle is doing?
Yeah.
All right. So this one, yeah, you're gonna see the fund balance applied to $50,000. That is, again, kind of same thing with emergency management, just to get her capital project fund cash reserves into a positive standing. Because initially when we purchased her vehicle, she didn't really have a capital project fund set up, so we just let that dip into negative cash balance, which wasn't that far negative. It was like $25,000 negative. So we're just transferring in excess of what she needs so that we can get it to a positive cash standpoint. Any specific questions on this one?
Just looking to see what we did with gasoline. So,
We did up it a little bit, but $200.
anybody else? Moving on.
Can I,
Yeah, Rick.
I would suggest that, if there's more capital funds that she could have possibly, so she could buy a second cot, she's talking about possibly another vehicle at some point. There's many times that she has, she's had a couple times where she's had a multiple death area. So I would suggest that she possibly get more money for a second cot.
Brown, you seem to have a response.
I just wanted to say that I've been talking to Donna Richards, and they are getting 2 new vehicles over at Aging. Those are state vehicles, and so they will be retiring, I think, a couple of vans. And I talked to her about it, and they have to retire them when they reach a certain mileage. For us, mileage is really not an issue. So she said, we can't sell them. Any money we make on them has to go back to the state. So she said, if we keep it in-house, if we keep them in-house, that's fine. So I think we're going to be able to get one of those vans as a backup. But then Rick is right, then we would need a car.
Great.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yep, scroll all the way down to the last page here and you'll note that we did add on a capital worksheet for a cot. We don't have any planned purchase in 2023, but because we are transferring the $50,000 to get her in a positive cash standpoint for the capital projects, that could potentially be something that we look at in the near future.
Okay. Any other comment, Rick?
No, as long as she has money and there's enough money in there for her to buy a second one, I think that's what the capital fund projects are for, and there's money in there. If she didn't have enough money in there, I'd ask you guys to put money in there that she would have enough to buy a second cot. That was my concern. So if she has money in there enough to buy a cot that she just currently purchased, another one, that would be great. Thanks.
Anyone else? All right, moving on to the sheriff's budget.
Yeah, so this one, if you scroll down to the bottom of the first page here, again, we've got that fund balance applied there. There's two fund balance applied on here because there's $1,000 applied for purchase of like dog food and stuff for canines. So we created a special project code for that one. And then the 326,000, that is, they're going to be the transfer over to capital to fund their capital projects. We're not doing any sort of cash infusion for them because they do have enough cash reserves in their capital project funds for ongoing need. Yeah, are there any specific questions related to the sheriff's budget? This is probably the
Kyle?
biggest one for this committee. Yep.
And Kyle, it's on Cavoyo District 9. Are there any plans for new hires on the patrol side?
I don't believe so, no. There are, it was reserve deputies, I think, but I don't believe that we have any of those filled. I don't know if Michelle's on, if you wanted to speak to that.
What was that, Kyle?
I said that it looks like Michelle is on, if she wanted to kind of touch a little more on the hiring status for Sheriff's Department.
Michelle, can you address that? You might be muted. We don't hear you.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
There we are.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I'm going to speak on behalf of Michelle. She said at this point, we don't, what was that, Michelle?
We don't have anybody hired.
We don't have anyone hired. That's the status of that.
You follow up, Rick?
I don't have a follow-up for his, but I have a follow-up my own. I would want,
Can you hold that for just a
yeah, I
second?
sure can.
Chris, you want to address anything on this?
I mean, with regards to the reserve deputies, we haven't hired anybody yet. That's as far as I know the status of those.
I'm sorry. Brent, are you there?
I am Supervisor Kabarski. I can speak to, I guess the staffing question, I think is as originally asked is by Supervisor Churko, is if we were looking to add positions for the Sheriff's Department. And I did put in the budget for a new investigator position request during the budgetary process. And that was removed by, or I guess during the budget process. So no, we did not get any new positions as requested for the Sheriff's Office budget for 23.
Okay, thanks for the update. Rick,
You just answered my question. I was wondering if the investigator was part of this budget or not.
okay,
Mr. Chair,
yes, please.
I would like to offer, as it relates to that position, Kyle, do you want to talk about the contingency fund?
Yep, Mr. Chair. So we do have that position budgeted for in the contingent fund. If there is a proven need for that position, we'll evaluate it. So that way, it's an ask from the department head, but there's going to need to be further evaluation for the need of that position and justification for it. So we do have money set aside for it, but we don't have it placed in the Sheriff's Department budget at this point.
Hey, Rick has a question.
It's more of a comment, a proven need. I guess we just added a judge due to the workload down there. And we've got the same amount of investigators from 1980. I would think that would show a proven need to add somebody at this time. I guess I would support this if we could find the money to do this. So I'd like that on record. I think that a proven need is, I think the sheriff showed that in the last couple of meetings.
All right, I think the report was they were going to evaluate it, so I guess it's in their hands.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Don.
I would agree with Rick that I think there is a need for an investigator, especially if we're gonna address this opioid abuse situation going on. In order to confront that head on, he's gonna need the manpower to serve the county.
Okay. Thanks. Anyone else?
Mr. Chair, this is Marge. May I speak?
Yeah, go ahead, Marge.
Okay, first of all, on this conversation, I'd like to see more proof that they actually need another position in that department on what their allocation of staffing is now. And then on another question I have is, with not being able to buy vehicles for the last year or two, what happens with the rotation and the funds that were budgeted for vehicles?
Okay, I'm not sure I got all that, but hope somebody did. All right, anything else?
Mr. Chair, so as it relates to the capital, Kyle, do you want to maybe address the
Cynthia,
struggle?
you're very distant. I don't know if you can move that mic a little closer.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
okay, I would like to defer to Kyle as it relates to the capital funds. Supervisor Edwards had brought up the concern about not being able to purchase capital items this year and how it relates to the budget in 23. Kyle, do you want to address that?
Yep, so, if we don't actually spend the money on those capital items, the money will stay with the capital fund. So we'll have the money available for future vehicle purchases if they're not completed this year. There has been issues with getting all the vehicles in, so we do have the mechanism in place to fund the vehicles, but with actually spending the money, if it's not spent, it just stays in the capital.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
okay. Anything else? Cynthia, Kyle? All right, we're gonna move on. Number 9, the Honorable Judge Bond.
Good morning. Hold on.
Behind the mic. Right there.
Find it.
Yes, I found it, but what do I do with it? Sticky for me? Oh. All right, I'll sit here. Good morning. Can everybody hear me okay? Yes. All right. Good morning. I have handed out a letter of appreciation from Judge Wood and I that will also be distributed to the rest of the supervisors. We just wanted to extend our appreciation for your approval of the new structure that allows for the register and probate juvenile clerk position to be divided into 2 and paired with judicial assistant responsibilities so that we each now have a judicial assistant. It's our hope, as I said in the letter, that this will help the smooth functioning of both courts and also alleviate some of the burdens that have been placed on the clerk of court's office in the absence of judicial assistance. So thank you for that. Things are going very well. The second courtroom is up and running. I've been on the bench doing mostly non-criminal matters because of the conflict situation with me having just been the district attorney. However, the DA's office has pretty much caught up all of the backlogs, so the cases in which I'd have a direct conflict are almost all charged and assigned to Judge Wood. So hopefully next month I'll start taking some criminal cases here. In the meantime, I've taken a larger portion of everything else that Judge Wood had assigned to him. So we sort of have a disproportionate division of both cases for a little while until it becomes more equal. I do have some Juneau County assignments to make up for not having criminal cases here. We've been working on a few kinks associated with courtroom C, namely the jury deliberation room is still not completely soundproof. The door to enter the courtroom doesn't allow for the public to enter through the door. They have to hit the handicap access button right now. And sometimes the door that I use to access the bench is not working with the fob. All these issues, Bill Reynolds is helping us work on with the contractors that need to address them. Had some tech issues as well, which Clerk Report Laura Ganovic was great on getting all of our contractors here to try to get those things moved out. We have replaced the Register and Probate who resigned to take a job in Juneau County at the end of last month. Kara from the Clerk of Court's office has taken that position and she's doing very well so far. And we're poised and ready to make the appointment on the second position here with the hope that that would maybe take effect December 1. That's the general update. I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't know if you got the expense report. I think I'm not positive how the report is getting conveyed to you just yet, but we'll make sure that we've got a system for that. So you're getting it ahead of this meeting. But if there are any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer those as well.
Questions for Tanya? What about other counties that need, judge? You answer some of that or Judge Wood or how are you handling it?
You mean if they have a substitution?
Yes.
We still take some substitutions from Juneau County and they tend to be the one that takes them from us. So now with substitutions, we can take each other's cases. So hopefully there'll be less need for a Juneau County judge to come here. But if it's perhaps it's a conflict with both of us, then of course we would need somebody else to come in. But when Judge Wood got substituted before, there was no other judge. So the case had to be assigned to another county judge. Now, of course, if I don't have a conflict, that case comes.
Take the question a little further from other counties when they are requesting a substitute judge. You share that responsibility or will you be or?
Yes, within the district, we can be assigned to other counties. If they have a similar situation where there's no other judge within their county that can take the case and they have to go out of county, then we would share the responsibility for our judicial district.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Going a little further in that, does the person who oversees the judges in our district, does he assign you that? Or do you Judge Would talk about it and you decide who goes to that?
No, the district assigns it,
Okay.
and they can monitor our workload and things like that. They also have a system, I think, for random assignment if there's no other special issues. So I believe it's the district administrator, Pat Drummond, who is in charge of that process.
Okay. Marge?
Nope, no questions.
All right.
All right,
Very good.
thank you. We hope to have a regular presence at this meeting, certainly in our reporting months. And if there's anything that you need or want to know from us in our off reporting months, please feel free to reach out. We'd be happy to take every effort to attend.
All right. Very good. The agenda, as I understand it. So if there's any questions on the monthly expense report. Otherwise, we'll move on. Child support, Janet, not attending. There's her report. Seeing no questions, we'll move on. Court, Lori. Not attending. There's her report. Okay. We will move on. Emergency management, Jane is attending.
Good morning, everyone. Do you have any questions on my report or my monthly expenditure and revenue reports?
Mr. Chair, this is Marge. I have one question.
Go ahead, Marge.
In your narrative, can you tell me what is Wilbur Ellis?
So
What is it?
Wilbur Ellis,
It's a, go ahead, Jane, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
That's a fertilizer manufacturing on the east side of Grand Marsh.
Oh, okay.
Someone got anything to add? Jane?
No, I was just gonna say manufacturing distribution.
She's just glad she's not in Florida.
Go ahead.
She's just glad she's not in Florida.
I thought about that when the hurricane was on its way.
All right, Jane, anything else?
No. Thank you.
Any questions on her expense report? Anyone?
I do have a question for her. They're gonna give you quite a bit of money in the capital fund. Is there any idea what you might use that for?
So, each year, well, sorry, can you hear me now? Okay. So a large amount of that is $436,000, which was a recommendation from Baycom, who handles our radio communications. All of that additional money is for projects for the communication tower sites and the radio communications. $436,000 is for FH channel. And that's the most costly one. We tried to divide those projects out so that it would be throughout, a few years. So that's our big one next year.
Did you ever get a response back from state troopers yet?
So the Department of Administration for the Rome Tower site. So I just sent yesterday or the day before to Corp Counsel, asking if he's heard anything back from DOA, because back in July, when I asked him what the status was on that, he had said that he was working with them to get a conference call together, and I wanted to be included on that, and I still have not heard back. So I sent him another email back, and I have not heard anything back from our Corp Counsel. So I'm sure he'll answer within the next couple of days.
What do you?
So,
You can't get hold of it.
he did not say what, yeah. I'm about tempted to reach out to the, contact there myself soon. But. So we're still waiting on that.
Either one of the Rome supervisors have any input on that?
I'm not home.
Okay. All right, regarding that communication stuff, are there grants involved with that also? And does that tie in with the sheriff's department?
There are not grants available for that. That's why we put it in the capital budget. When Baycom, we meet with Baycom once a year annually, and they make the recommendations. Some of it has to do with our lifespan of our radio equipment. And typically the lifespan of the radio equipment is 7 to 10 years, and a lot of that has been outdated. So that's why we had to make a lot of these upgrades now. the page channel does tie into the sheriff's department, because that will be for the sheriff's department, but it goes through all of the radio equipment out at our main communication tower site that I oversee, and we have 7 of those sites.
Just a follow up, who does our maintenance on those now?
The maintenance, sorry, can you hear me now? The maintenance as far as checking the AC and all that, and the weeds and all that, I take care of that. I had highway do it this year and last year because I was so busy with other things as far as the weeds, but I check all the thermostats, I check the generators. I have someone come in and check those. If there's issues with them, I go out and I check them to make sure that the generator connection is showing up. Because if it's not, then we have an issue. So then I have to go out and I have to test the generator myself and check it. So I try to handle what I can, and if I can't, I contact Current Technologies. They switched hands, so it was complete control, but I think it's Current Technologies. I get those two confused. And then as far as the maintenance, I have Advanced Climbing Tower Site. Annually check the lighting on them because that's required. And then every couple years, they come in and they check the guide wires.
Okay. Anybody else? Thanks, Jane.
Thank you.
Medical examiners, Maryland.
Yes. So the numbers this month were a little less than they've been, which is good. But we did have another motor vehicle crash, which was number 8 since July, which is very strange. I mean, we've gone entire years without nearly that amount. So those are really up this year. So we had number 8, we had a drowning, we had a fall, and we had a homicide. So even though the numbers were less, it was still quite a busy month for us. We are still ahead of last year. We had another tissue donation, and other than that, no issues.
Questions for Marilyn?
Mr. Chair, I have just a quick question.
Yep, go ahead.
Marilyn, what is the difference between hospice and a home death?
Well, a hospice is, they're registered with one of the hospices that we have, I think 7 that serve our county, 7 different hospices. And so when a hospice death occurs, they are to call hospice. And then we are notified of it being a hospice death. We do not respond to that call. And yet we do sign the death certificate and do the cremation permit and do some investigative work to make sure that the hospice paperwork aligns with what we are going to write on the death certificate. But those are non-response calls on our part, except for cremation.
Okay, and then a home death is just someone that has died at home
Right, correct.
with no medical personnel involved.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else for Marilyn? Otherwise, the expense report. No questions? Thank you, Marilyn.
Thank you.
All right, sheriff's report. Chris, are you on or Brett gonna do it or?
I think Brent's on. Yes.
Okay. Brett got deflected to you.
Up there, I was muted. So as far as my supervisor Edwards wanted a Quincy report. So this is the Quincy summary report outline there. So basically we did patrol hours for Memorial Day weekend through Labor Day weekend. We provided 240 hours of coverage, logged 2,899 miles, issued 56 citations or written warnings, 23 written or verbal warnings, and handled 3 accidents. And the bill for the town of Quincy was $15,662. And then just below there is a picture that was sent to our county Facebook Sheriff's Office page from a resident out in Quincy. And I added this because this is a kind of a positive contact that without having a dedicated car out in Quincy and the officers running from call to call to call, they wouldn't have had time to stop and have this positive contact with the kids. So I added that in there.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then just moving on, I guess there's the animal shelter report that is in there. Not necessarily for the reason that it's there, but nonetheless, there's a contract that's I guess in negotiation process for now, just to show the committee some of the numbers that the animal shelter has. There's the animal shelter is, I believe, asking for about a $500 a month increase in the contracted amount. So that's I don't know that it's been signed yet, but some talks about that. I guess moving on, if there's no questions with those two things. So we booked 136 people in the jail last month.
Yeah, hold on a minute. Going back to that, the animal thing, where are we as far as, what's the cost of it currently? I don't know.
Currently is about $1,250-ish, and they're asking, I believe it's a $500 a month increase.
So they want to go to 18,000.
I couldn't hear if that was to me.
So they're just asking for a contract of for 18,000.
If that's what I don't know what the yearly number figures out to.
So the current one is about 15,600 per year, and the proposed one is 20,400.
And the current one is 15, you said, okay. And do we deal with anyone other than the one at Adams? Or Friendship, whatever.
I couldn't hear you, Supervisor Kubarski, if that was to me.
Are we dealing with any other shelters other than Adams?
No.
Go ahead, Sheriff.
Yep. So just continuing on down through the numbers. So these are the month over month numbers here. That are broke out by township. And you can see our final number was 1,079 calls for the month. So you'll see from the previous monthly reports, we're starting to slow down for the end of the summer here.
Any questions for Sheriff?
And then just continuing on is all the jail reports for the daily populations and the reimbursements that we get from the state for housing DOC offenders and sanctions. You also see our average daily population is has been increasing the last couple months as well. A few months ago, we were in the 30s, and now we're this last month was 44.
You maintain the number for Wood County? Also?
Yep, we're still at 15 from Wood County, but that is not included in the page you're looking at there. Those are DOC sanctions, Department of Corrections sanctions that we get reimbursed.
Yep. Okay. Anything else?
I don't have anything else to point out on any of these reports, no.
Brett, what's the department doing on the gas budget for next year? How much has gone up? I didn't happen to catch it.
That'd be Chris. I'd refer that to Chris.
Yeah, if I remember right, I think we increased it about $25,000 over what it is now.
You increased it 25, is that correct?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Any questions?
The just the only other thing I guess I would just point out here. So I know Marge has asked before about the calls for service year over year. And I guess what my response to that is I have collected the numbers. I kind of talked about them a little bit last month, but so since 2007, that was the farthest back that we can go to track our calls that we have now. So 2007, we started a new CAD system, new database. And so to go any further back, we wouldn't be comparing apples to apples basically with the calls for service. So in 2007, we handled 10,392 calls. And in 2021, our last complete year was 14,781 calls. What's that? No question. So to help put those numbers in perspective, in 2007, we averaged 28 calls a day, and last year was 40 calls per day on average, using those numbers. And I had asked HR to tell me when we last had any staffing increases in the department, and we don't have an exact date. We both believe it was in the early 2000s for patrol. And so so basically, we're handling the same number of calls, or a lot more calls a day with no staffing increases in over 20 years to patrol. And then in investigations, that last increase was in the mid 1970s. The other thing just to point out is, so since 2018, we went back to track calls involving weapons. And in 2018, we had 13 calls that involved weapons. And in 2021, we had 112 calls that involved weapons. So not only are we dealing with a lot more calls every day, we're dealing with a lot more calls that involve weapons that are more dangerous, that require more staff to handle those calls safely and properly. Just another stat I'll throw out with that is, so Adams County is 689 square miles with a population of just over 20,000 people, and that is full-time residents. And I'm sure that all of us are aware of the influx of population to visitors to Adams County during the summer months. And again, just to point out, Adams County is home to the second and fourth largest inland body of water and 26 named lakes. that draws a lot of people to Adams County during the summer months, as long with all the campgrounds. So our minimum staffing for patrol is 3 deputies on at a time. So if you divide that out, each deputy has to cover 230 square miles of Adams County. So that was all that I guess I was going to add to that. We've had plenty of conversations about staffing and my request for at least the investigator position. And I understand the budget process and everything, but I just wanted to share this with the committee.
Brett, I thank you for taking the time to bring all these numbers forward. They are impressive. And I can now fully understand why you're asking and trying to be so adamant on your ask. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't mean to put anybody on the spot, but I think Michelle was doing some research as to the staffing in the sheriff's department. Perhaps you'd like to share that.
He's right here.
Michelle is here.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So since the request, we started pulling resolutions, and some of the numbers that have been given are not accurate. So I'd like to take this week or two to get all those resolutions pulled. I did find that in 2009, we actually did add an investigator. There has been patrol deputies added since 2000. So if I can have some time to pull those numbers together, I can get those to Sheriff York and then PSNJ as well.
Okay. I think that would be appropriate. Rick, you look puzzled.
No, that'd be a good agenda item for next month.
Okay. Sounds good. John?
How is that gonna affect this year's budget though? If we don't plan for it now,
Well, I think what I heard earlier was that they have set aside money, but not appropriated it. So, Michelle, is that accurate?
That's what Kyle had stated earlier, that is in the capital funds. It's set aside but not appropriated for those positions. You're correct.
Okay.
but that was for an investigator. But what about to increase the patrol?
There wasn't an ask.
You
I don't
say,
think there was an ask for that. That was just
no,
an investigator that he was asking for.
At this time, but in what I picked up from what Sheriff York was talking about is that they haven't had any increase in patrol officers for some time. And with all these gun issues coming out, when are we gonna put more on?
I don't know if I'm the one to answer that, but, I think that has to be looked at as a whole program, a whole picture, and not just, bits and pieces of it, and try and sort this thing out, if in fact there's a need for it. Too many times we look at one segment and we disregard some of the others, and we don't want to, personally, I don't want to get in that predicament.
I understand, I understand it can't happen in a day. But it's something that the committee needs to look at objectively and say, what are our needs? Right, in the very near future here.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Sheriff, anything going on? Any wrap up? Otherwise, we're gonna move on.
I don't have anything additional for my report now.
Okay. Very good. And some of that needs to go on next month's agenda. Anything else? needs to be on next month's agenda is contact either myself or the manager. Next meeting date? Ninth work? Oh, no, it don't. Not for me. Can we do it? I haven't had a doctor's appointment that day. I think. Let me look. It works for. It works for everybody else. I might be okay with it. I
I
need
might be okay with
well, I gotta get the Oshkosh, but I don't know what time it is.
it.
Otherwise, 16th,
Well, that's after the budget meeting. I mean, that's fine with me. I'm just saying that after our county budget.
that's true. Well, let's leave it for the 9th, and if in fact we have to change it, I'll let the committee know, or I'll have somebody let you know.
Well, maybe a different time of the day too would work if you go over there and come back or whatever.
Okay. All right. Currently, we'll still keep it at 9 o'clock. Okay,
Okay,
all right. With that. Saying nothing else, we will stand adjourned.
thank you.